Hello, and today I thought I would do something a bit different. I thought I'd do a tier list based on all the characters in My Hero Ultra Rumble Season 5, including Strike Dabi. I basically just finished a series with solo characters, and I thought I'd try and rank all of them in my opinion on who I think is strong, who is weak, who could do with buffs, who could do with nerfs, who's fine where they are, who's good, who isn't just fitting in with the meta right now, but it's a good character in general. But yeah, I just wanted to do this. This is entirely my opinion. This is my opinion. I thought I'd point that out. And it's also on console, but let's get that in with it. So, D tier. There is only one character going into D tier, and that's Kirishima. Kirishima has just struggled ever since Season 4, I think it was, when they changed his hardening. He got buffed recently, so they made it that his beta early game does more damage. So levels 1 to 8, it does more damage. And his special action hardening, they've made that when you completely deplete it, the cooldown is faster, so you get it back again. And when you get knocked out of hardening, he gets to keep the charge that he currently has and can reuse it again. That's great, but however, ever since he's been easily knocked out of hardening, he just can't keep up. He's a brawler that can't brawl because he needs to get involved. He needs to be in the middle of all the chaos in order to do his damage. And on top of that, all of his damage comes from his abilities. And all of them kind of at least need to be level 4 for some type of effect. His alpha especially needs to be level 9. You have to get it to level 9. It's not the best, but it's the only way you're really going to chase people. And his chase game isn't that good, because he only gets his third alpha at level 9. And in my opinion, I think he should get it at level 7, maybe even level 4. Give him a third one at level 4, and then give him a fourth one at level 9. I don't know. Go crazy. I want to see this guy on the battlefield again. For his special action, I feel like it's forever going to be mediocre, unless if they revert it back. Or they make it that it's even harder to knock him down in hardening. Because even though you take less damage and no flinch, it still has the same properties as a regular character, in the sense of 3 Momo alphas will knock someone down. 3 Momo alphas on hardening Kirishima also knocks him down. I just don't really see the point of it at the minute. But I feel like even if you can make it to late game with Kirishima, you can win. You can win, trust me. He is a monster late game because he hits hard, he thrives in the chaos in smaller areas because his Gamma does like 200 damage. His plus ultra makes it do like 220. But yeah, Kirishima, D tier, a character that needs work put into him, but you can make him work if you really, really want to piss off your team by being an expensive brawler that can't do that much. So that's D tier rounded out, and up next in C tier, these are characters that are good in their given scenario and can sometimes, do a lot of work by themselves, but we're going to start it off with Technical Dabi. So, Technical Dabi is a lot similar to Kirishima. I think he lacks a chase game. He just doesn't have a good early game. His mid game is okay, depending on what you've been able to level up. Personally, I would recommend leveling up Gamma first with this character. Just, it's his most useful ability. It's a shield, it does a lot of damage, it basically forces people to fight you or run away from you. And that's where I think Dabi is very good. I think if you are able to lure people into a building with you, or you can just fight out in the open and just keep spamming traps and your Gamma effectively in late game, you can definitely screw some teams over. The issue with Dabi is that he's got no mobility, he's got no chase game, he's kind of vulnerable by himself as well, because like again, your traps and your Gamma can mark you for safety when you're healing and stuff. I just don't think Dabi as technical right now is that good. And also that his cooldowns, if he uses all of his abilities, like his alphas, if he uses all the bullets, or his betas and uses all the bullets, you're waiting for a long time till they come back, unlike his strike counterpart that we will get into much, much later into the tier list. But right now, his special action is kind of bad because Technical Dabi, again, he hasn't got that threat compared to Strike Dabi, where he can get you really low and you're like, oh god, no, I don't want to go near him or anything. Like Technical Dabi, you can just play it at a safe range. Orbs aren't easy. Orbs are very easy to avoid, but again, like this character, you can make him work in the given scenario. The top Dabi players they'll definitely convince you that he's probably B tier. I can see it, but as of right now, in my opinion, I don't think he fits in there. He doesn't provide much for his team as well, besides the Gamma. Like, traps and alphas don't really provide that much support. They're really good for just, like, pinpointing where someone could be, or someone's triggered a trap. But yeah, that's why Dabi is in C tier. Mediocre damage as well. So, next in C tier is going to be our first support character, which is going to be Ibara. Ibara did receive a nice set of buffs recently to her beta dealing more damage, her alpha dealing more damage when zoomed in, and I think that was about it to her, but they were kind of big buffs in the sense of it made Ibara's long-range game and her close-range game even more lethal than it already was. I think this character is low-key kind of slept on. I mean, I have her in bottom 3 right now, but the reason for that is because I just think she's way too easy to focus down. And again, it's due to lack of mobility. I think a lot of grounded characters in this game are suffering hard at the moment. Ibara can, like, scare off Rapids if she does get a grab, because her grab does an insane amount of damage. And she can press it again if she wants to get rid of or well, if she feels like she's being overwhelmed by everyone. So if she grabs someone, like they started attacking her, she can press her Gamma again and it'll release them early, which still does a lot of damage. I think at level 9 it does like 200 and something. I think it almost one-shots Rapids, which is really strong. Her beta is really good as well when it's leveled up, and that can break guards pretty quickly as well, because it's a really good armored get off me option that kind of just covers in front of her. Alpha, again, it's a really long-range, hard-hitting move, and it goes through a lot more abilities than you think. It beats All Might's Tornado, it beats Dabi's Gamma, it beats quite a few moves that you wouldn't think it would beat, but that's the property of Ibara's Alpha. Like, it goes through Kendo's shield as well. Like, she gets to ignore things that other characters can't, which is massive in some fights. Because if there's a Kendo just holding up shield trying to stall for a team heal, and like your All Might can't break through it or whatever, or he's used all of his mobility to get around Kendo, Ibara can kind of just smack her on the ground with the Alpha. The main issue with Ibara is that she doesn't function. There's just times where her abilities don't work. Her grab can sometimes just not work, her beta sometimes does less damage than it should, her Alpha sometimes, like, you shoot it out, and then nothing happens, and then when you bring the Alpha back, then the damage happens. Sometimes the Alpha doesn't even come out, which is what's crazy to me. But yeah, that's why Ibara's in C tier. Oh, her special action is very good as well, and insta-revive will always be welcome on a character, so that's why I think she's better than Technical Dabi and Kirishima, because she provides a little bit more to the team compared to those two. Up next in C tier, we are still in C tier, is another grounded character. It is Shigaraki Strike version. Shigaraki, again, is a character that did receive good buffs. They made his Alpha thicker, and I think it was travel a little bit more distance. I might be wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure they made that his Alphas wider at the lower levels, which is really good. And they also increased the spread on his beta, only at level 9 though. I feel like that was a bit of an interesting choice, but then again, his beta isn't really good until it comes to, you know, level 7, when it actually starts to cover a wide area. His Gamma also got a buff that means he can travel further from levels 1 to 8 as well, I think they did it for, or even all the levels, or his earlier levels. Regardless, Shigaraki got a nice set of buffs. The main thing that he did get buffed was his Alpha. Yes, they made it thicker, but they also made it travel up walls and buildings, which can be good in a lot of scenarios. If you're chasing someone and, you know, you haven't got a speed card and you see them go up a building, you can just spam a bunch of Alphas to cover it. Because this Shigaraki, as they did actually nerf his Alpha in the process as well. They made it deal less damage, and also the tick rate is slower, so there's more time to react to it. I think Shigaraki Strike is kind of fine where he is. I just feel like it's really hard to balance his kit without making him extremely oppressive, because if you made him, like, I don't know, just be able to fly up or something and damage people in the air, then he would be very strong. I think he does amazing damage on the ground. When you get that late game Shigaraki, Oh my god, is he hard to deal with. Unless if, you know, you've got an Aizawa you're against, a Froppy and Ida, characters that can stay in the air. It depends on the area as well. Shigaraki is very area/team dependent as well, because if you're playing like Kirishima, Shigaraki, and Dabi, you're not really going to beat any air-based characters, are you? You might be able to with luck, but it's not really going to happen. Shigaraki also suffers from bugs as well. His grab sometimes just doesn't work. There's like many things that can happen with it. Sometimes you can just hit them with the initial hit and then you don't grab them. There's times where you grab them but don't do any damage and then throw them and then they go nowhere. There's sometimes where you don't do any of the tick damage but then you do the throw damage. There's sometimes where you do all the tick damage but then don't do the throw damage. There's sometimes where it just completely whiffs and does no damage whatsoever and they get stuck to you. But all of that aside, I think his gamma isn't really that great anyway. Maybe a buff they could do with it to make him feel a little bit more lethal is that he's allowed to travel up walls with it. Look, I know that may be unrealistic, but this is the same game where Kirishima can send himself flying in the air with his beta. I also think his special action's kind of doo-doo. There's no reason to use it besides like breaking buildings, I guess, if you're the only person left on your team and you're rescuing civilians. I also think Shigaraki could do with just maybe a grounded speed buff in general, but then again his alpha at level 9 does cover a wide area. It's got a lot of range and you can kind of just spam them to make a cone shape and just deny that area for your opponent to run from. Overall, not a bad character, but like not amazing either, and that's why he's sitting at C tier. Again, sticking to C tier, I have got Uraraka. I don't think this character's that great. She has fallen from greatness since season 2 when she was the shit. She was the shit. Ever since they've changed that car hitbox on her, she's kind of suffered. And I think the issue for that is Uraraka is way too reliant on getting her car to level 9. I think like it's great that she has all of these other options for her like gamma combos. She has some insane gamma combos. They did also buff her beta recently. This character has had nothing but buff since she's been gutted since season 2. But I don't know, they increased the cooldown on her alpha to make it, or well, they made it that it comes back quicker so you can zip around the map and all of that. I think she has the best mobility out of all rapids just because her float plus alpha means she just flies across the map pretty untouched. And obviously, if you're not using your alpha and you're just floating across the map, you get the alpha back, so you basically never run out of alphas with float. The main issue with Uraraka, she's actually too difficult, in my opinion. I think she's a pretty high skill character, and I don't see the point in learning these characters, or like trying to perform this perfect 250 HP execution combo with her gamma into like alpha, then dropping them with the gamma, then hitting them with the car, then throwing the car at them for like max damage potential, when there's a character like Strike Dabi where you press gamma, you press beta, and then you do 200 plus damage. There is no point in learning all of that with Uraraka if you want to just do it easier with Dabi. Probably on a shorter cooldown as well with Strike Dabi. But Uraraka again doesn't really provide much support for her team as well. She, like, the gamma can help stun people and set up a lot of damage opportunities for your team. That's probably as far as it goes. Her special action isn't useful on too many teammates. Maybe a couple of her grounded fellows she could be useful with, but I don't know, man. Uraraka, C tier. A damage house that can get shit done, but she's very expensive to get that shit done. Up next in C tier, we are still stuck in C tier right now. I have put Todoroki. Oh my god, how the mighty have fallen. We go from one S tier character in an earlier season to another S tier character fallen. But Todoroki's gone from a top tier menace to a mid tier hero. Again, this is my opinion. It all has to do with lack of mobility to catch up to those who can just go on top of buildings. He's got it on the ground. He's got all the ground and mobility with his gamma and stuff. And yeah, that's all he can really chase up with. If he's against an Ida, you best hope that you can catch them before they decide to run away, because you're not really going to be able to do it. His alpha has amazing range and good damage as well. It's pretty solid. His beta got a buff, which I still recommend leveling up first, because that is a good 200 damage you can get and catch someone off guard, and then try and land your alpha shots whilst they're running away. His gamma, I think, got a shadow buff, which was it has a 4th hitbox in some scenarios. I don't actually know how it triggers, but I've seen it a couple times. Like, I freeze someone for a 3rd, and then, like, as they burst out of it, they take a 4th hit. But his gamma, you can still burn people extremely quick. You can still absolutely beam people if you catch them with it. And the gamma hitbox, you know, it's been nerfed time and time and time again. I used to hate this character. Now I don't mind it. I feel like it's kind of a well played if they hit me with the gamma now. Because I don't know if you lot remember Season 1 to, like, Season 3 Todoroki, I think it was. The gamma lasted forever. You couldn't roll through it. You couldn't jump over it. Like, sometimes the hitbox was still there after the move was gone. It was crazy. And it did so much damage. The cooldown was basically non-existent, but again, they've nerfed that, so he has a longer cooldown on it. I think Todoroki overall is in a fine spot. Again, it's kind of hard to balance them when he hasn't got any vertical mobility, you know, because he can't keep up with those that can just fly above him and damage him from there. He can obviously beam them with the alpha, which is what I've said before, but again, I just feel like these characters are just lacking in that department. Alright, and coming up into the bottom of B tier is Kendo. So, Kendo is a character that I think, with her kit, is really good. I just don't think the meta has gone her way. I think she is a fine character. With good team coordination and a team to work around her, she feels near unkillable in some scenarios. She has amazing damage up close. If we're talking about characters that are pushed by certain players, like Akari that I watch, Akari the Worst, I'll have their link of their Twitch in the description, same as Metsu, who I've also done a collab with on their channel, which I'll also put out in the description as well. But them two push the character to their limits. If you're doing that, she's A tier. She is 100% A tier, but obviously this is a tier list on ground level with my knowledge as a casual competitive player, I guess. Like, I'm competitive casual? I don't know how to say it, but yeah. Her clap, it's pretty good. It's armored, she gets 3 charges, they're on a very low cooldown, and they do massive damage. I think it's like 180 at level 9, but the main thing that comes into Kendo's play is actually her melee. Her melee is really good. It's a lot of hits, and she can combo her alpha off of it as well. So I think it's like 230 something damage at level 9 if you have it. And her shield isn't anything to scoff at either. The only issue with Kendo Shield is that every update, they seem to change the interactions with it. Like, one update, Shigaraki can't do the alpha through her shield, then the next update, he can. The beta sometimes doesn't go through her shield, now it does. There's just a lot of things. Obviously, at the beginning of this season, her shield was bugged, like, it actually got deleted. I don't think that's been fixed. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, Kendo also she actually has pretty decent mobility as well. With the speed card, this character can still do the quote-unquote flying Kendo. It's not as good as it used to be, where you could stay in the air forever, but she can most certainly fly across the map still. She can definitely, like, get to one place to another very quickly, or even chase after people with the correct usage of her air melee and that speed card. She is very good at closing the distance, while also having the 3rd best ground speed, if I'm correct. I think she's only behind Ida and All For One, because for some reason All For One has the most ground speed in the game and not Ida, but whatever. Kendo rocking in a B tier. Good combos, good damage, good all-arounder. She's a good all-arounder. Again, lacking that vertical mobility, but doesn't really matter when you have a speed card. But then again, I guess you'd need a speed card, but you can always just ask your team for a speed card, even if you have a rapid on your team. Rounding it up, next in B tier is Tsuyu Asui, or Froppy, as everyone likes to call her. Froppy, I'm going to call her Froppy for this. Froppy is another rapid character that I feel like requires too much attention to what you're doing, or too much precision for your ability to be effective in a game where you can just explode. This game, you can explode very easily. There's a lot of combinations and stuns that can kill you instantly, and I mean instantly. She's just so fragile, but she has got the mobility to work up for it. She is not the demon she once was in Season 1, where she had 4 alphas. I think it was 4 betas as well. But she used to have like 3 alphas at level 1 and then got the 4th one at level 7 or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, everyone knows what I'm on about if you played during Season 1. But yeah, so she's still got the good mobility. She only has her one combo, which is like the alpha beta beta, but that is still very strong. It's a very strong combo, and they did give her beta a quality of life buff where they've just kind of made it easier for the beta on the ground to hit someone if they've bounced in the air off of aerial beta. And they also gave the aerial beta tracking, so she's kind of more effective at landing that combo. Her gamma is kind of borderline useless. It doesn't really provide much for Sue or her team. It's mostly there to make sure she can lose her opponents if they start to track her. She's got a very good chase game though, and a very good runaway game because of it. So her chase game is obviously reliant on her alpha. It's very good because she can grapple onto buildings from very far away. She can even hit the opponent to get flung towards them to have an even better chance of landing her combo. That's all I've really got to say about Sue. Her special action is obviously insta-revive, which everyone enjoys. Everyone enjoys a good old insta-revive, and it's a quick, fast one. She's the only rapid to actually have an insta-revive that functions like the support ones, where she can do it from a relatively safe distance. She still has to get pretty close, but again, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that's holding her back is that obviously she lacks combos, so she's only really got her beta, and if you know it's coming, then it's pretty easy to avoid. And how fragile she is in a game where you can just explode, because one mess up from Sue most likely results in her death. If you miss one of her alphas trying to escape, you're probably gonna die. And that's why I've put Sue in B tier. I feel like she's the balance that every character should be revolved around, you know, because like, I think she's pretty honest. She's pretty fair, I can't lie. People are probably gonna hate me for saying that, but I honestly think Sue is the most all-around character. Sticking into B tier, I have got Denki Kaminari. Denki was this demon in Season 3 when the aim assist was changed on console, because remember, this is a console tier list. But Denki was this monster that basically just hit you with the gamma, press beta, die. He still has that now, it's just that there's a lot more characters that can focus him down. I just don't think people were kind of used to how much damage Denki did to one target, because of obviously it was that, and if you just focus the Denki, he most likely dies for it. However, his damage in the rest of his kit, his alpha, his beta, even by itself, is really, really, really strong. And with his traps getting buffed recently, I noticed it in my solo series video. If you stun someone in that alpha, you can just beam them down with the rest of your alpha shots. If you catch someone in a trap, they will most likely die. Because I think they changed it to have the same stun duration as his gamma. And his gamma is also really good still, because it's got good range at higher levels, it's got good damage towards it, it allows you and your team to focus the person down. And yeah, it's really strong, and it's got pretty good tracking as well. His beta is still the menace it once was. I feel like most Denki still do gamma into beta. I've started to do that less now, just because I feel like more people have started to adapt to Denki's playstyle. So whenever they see a Denki now doing the beta, everyone kind of just focuses that instead of whatever they were doing, because it'll just scare the Denki off and take him out of the fight. The one thing I would change about Denki is his special action. This shit is borderline useless. It is one of the worst special actions in the game. Yeah, if you land it on someone, it could result in death or like a double stun. I know you can do like the special action stun into 2 alpha shots into gamma, which re-stuns them, and then shoot them again, which most likely downs them. I just don't think there's much worth in going for it, especially when even if you use your gammas to catch up, then you'll immediately knock them over, because you'll hit them with your gamma and then hit them with your special action stun, and you'll immediately make them fall over. I think that shit's kind of whack, but I feel like they should change it to make it that it's like one powerful alpha shot, or like his alpha has infinite range, something along the lines of that. But Denki overall, I would say I would recommend leveling up his alpha first, then for his gamma, just for the decent range that he gets when he zoomed in his shots, because his alpha does like 95 per shot at level 9. But Denki overall, yeah, he's a solid strike character, and that's why he's in B tier. Alright, rounding out B tier now, I have got Aizawa. So, Aizawa is a character that I think is the high skill character in the game. I think you need to be very consistent with him in order to be effective. The issue is that Aizawa himself isn't consistent. Ever since Season 1 when he dropped, this character has been riddled with bugs. And I am honestly surprised that Aizawa, of all characters, has this many bugs. I thought Twice, the guy who can clone people, Mirio, the guy who has invincibility and can run through buildings, doesn't have as many bugs as this guy. But Aizawa is just riddled with them. I remember season 1 Aizawa, this guy was garbage because of his bugs. He was garbage because of his bugs. Everyone knew he's like Mr. Potential himself. If he's not bugged, he could be a very strong character. You've got a character that has insane mobility with his alphas. He can keep the mobility going with his beta. He can even stall himself in the air with his gamma, which is really good if you're waiting out a team heal, because the gamma also blocks projectiles. The issue is that sometimes his alpha can randomly stop grabbing your opponents. And that is the most frustrating thing, because it happens at random. There's no trigger for it. There's no way to fix it. You just got to hope that it works again at some point. And I think that's really depressing, because Aizawa is such a cool character, and I love seeing him in my matches, especially if someone knows what they're doing with him. This character has got combos out his arsehole. He has got so many. He's got Gamma. You can do one into Gamma, into Alpha to pull them back in, and then you can jump back and then slam down with your Alpha in the air, and it will do so much damage. I think it kills Rapids if both abilities are at level 9. I don't even think the Alpha needs to be at level 9. If the Gamma's at level 9, I think it just kills the Rapid characters. His Gamma did get a buff recently, but that was to make up for his Shadow nerf towards his Gamma and his Beta. So essentially what happened to those was his Beta and Gamma got less ticks into it, so they decided to increase the damage on the Gamma, so it's basically back to where it was. But again, it was nice, but I wouldn't recommend leveling up Gamma first. Aizawa does have insane team play though. If you can catch someone in an Alpha or a Gamma, your team can just immediately focus that player and basically remove them from the game. Or his special action can turn a fight around, essentially, because your opponents can't use their quirks. The only thing that they can do is use their special actions, which again doesn't really make sense. I feel like it should disable all abilities that should be used. The only thing they can do is run up to you in melee, but obviously if they're going to run up to you, you've got your Gamma to stop that from happening entirely. It can really help catching people in their wake-ups when they're about to use a mobility option, and you can pull them back in and deal even more damage to them, or even potentially get them out of the game. And I think that's why Aizawa is staying at B tier. I would put him in A tier, but again, they need to fix his damn alpha, man. Please, for the love of God, fix Aizawa's alpha. It is so damn sad that this character can just stop working during a match and become borderline useless because all he can do is smack them with his cloth and deal 40-something damage. But again, he is a technical character with really short cooldowns on all of his abilities and with the mobility of a Rapid that can disable quirks of others and stop them from running away and getting out of his grasp. So that's why I've kept him in B tier, because when he does work, he is very effective. So that concludes B tier. So now we're moving on to A tier, where a good portion of these characters do fall into. And the character that I'm going to start this off with is Rapid Bakugo. So Rapid Bakugo is...
I hate what Twice's condition people to do. It's not good.
I definitely see this character the least when it comes to all the skill sets. And the only reason I can think of that is because he's very, very, very difficult to play. Rapid Bakugo is one tough cookie to deal with when it comes to just your execution, because all of his abilities
why did they do this to
kind
Twice?
Of combo into
and why
one
did he
another.
start fighting
and if you're not hitting those, you're not really doing much.
Some people's decisions.
Rapid Bakugo does
making in
have
this
some
game.
of the best mobility in the game, some of the best damage output
Oh wow, I
potential
knocked
with
her
his
over.
combos if you can land them.
She
I
is
still
lagging
think
hard.
we're waiting for
Holy.
that one player to just be perfect, just landing everything every time with this character. Because when I see Rapid
Nice.
Bakugo, I'm low-key
hello.
pretty scared of him.
Oh my god,
I'm
what is
scared
happening to
of
her?
the potential of him doing Gamma on me, or like the Beta into Gamma, which breaks my guard, and that launches me in the air. Then he can shoot the Alpha into it, and then just keep the chase
I
up
was
on
not
you
looking that
forever,
way.
basically. But the main issue is that he requires a brain. I think it's that he's like tied with Aizawa in terms of really hard to be consistent with, like skill-wise. He is one he is one difficult character to play. On top of having 250
she got my
HP,
blood.
you know, you can't really mess up too often, otherwise you're going to die. You're going to die.
Special
This
action
character
got
will
bugs.
explode
Augers.
if you mess up any of your combos or even your getaways. But again, you've got your special actions to make you fly in the air. You've got your beta to run away.
Yeah,
you can get your alphas to shoot at the ground to do even more, keep yourself even more in the air. This character is crazy. He's crazy on paper, but in execution, if you can't execute the combos, yeah, you're going to look like a fool that's just spamming his abilities and running away and not really helping your team that much. But again, I would recommend trying out Rapid Bakugo if you do have him. I think there is
frustrating
a lot of
chase to test Toga right now
in this guy that we have not seen yet. So who have we got after Rapid Bakugo? Another character that has kind of fallen from greatness. I've got Assault Deku. This character, oh man, from one of the best in the game to just being a shadow of his former self. This character has received backhand after backhand after backhand of nerfs. At the beginning of this game, this character was probably the best, if I'm going to be honest. He did good damage, he had amazing range, he's got a good burst option, being his kick that does a lot of damage. He had his 2 gammas at earlier levels, so he had pretty decent mobility as well. And over time, they've taken his damage away, they've taken his bullet count away, they've taken his second gamma away until level 9. You know, this character is just, he's kind of suffering with the backhands. Like, he's a good all-arounder. I just think that he's outclassed by every other, like, shooter-esque character above him here, that there's no real reason to pick him. If you want to be consistent, by all means, pick this character. If you can land your shots, he is still very effective. There is still potential of just beaming characters down with, like, 7 alpha shots at level 9 and then landing the crouch shot, which will just kill them. His beta's still really good because it's armored, it's a okay mobility option, but at level 9 it does like 180, which again can be a very good surprise burst of damage on some people, especially opening the fight. His gamma, I honestly feel like it wouldn't be that bad if they gave his second charge back at level 7 or even level 4 again, because mobility is king in this game. Mobility is king. And I don't think it would hurt that much for the game if this character brought it back. His special action's pretty good as well, because you can just pick someone up and bring them back in the fight, and it immediately recharges it. So it's like as soon as you drop them, it goes back to full. So if they down straight after again, you can pick them back up and do it again. Much like Ida's one, but we'll get into Ida later on as well. But yeah, Assault Deku, he's a good character, just kind of overshadowed by his strike counterpart as well. I feel like there's more reason to play his strike counterpart and characters like All Might, who are just Deku but better, really. I really feel for this character, man, and his mains, because like he's the character you're recommended to start off with, and he is outclassed by a lot of characters in terms of just their kits and all of that. But bring back Deku, give Deku his second gamma back, buff Assault Deku, return him to his former glory. I really miss seeing this character. It's such a shame that he's in the state that he's in. Because like I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's like amazing either. Which is why he's at the bottom of A tier. So after Assault Deku, I have got Strike Bakugo. Strike Bakugo is another Season 1 menace. This character was insane in Season 1. He was doing 100+ damage per shot. He was basically just destroying you with grenades and his alpha combos. And they've kind of shadow nerfed and nerfed him a lot as well. I remember his pierce shot used to do full damage through walls as well until they nerfed that. So Bakugo over time has just gotten weaker, but I still think he's a solid character. I still think he's pretty good at what he does. He's still really good at what he does. I think he's better than his Rapid, mostly because I don't think Rapid has been fully dived into yet. I don't think he's been fully explored, but Strike Bakugo, he's still got his grenade combos, which they did nerf again recently. They made it that if you like land 2 grenades and if you land 2 grenades, your opponent goes flying. I guess it was pretty crazy that Bakugo could do like 200 damage in one combo. But again, I don't think that was too bad, because you kind of had to line up the shot as well to do the max damage. Maybe it was just to stop people from spamming grenades all the time and not actually the combo. But even if you hit too many of your alpha shots now, it forces a hard knockdown, so... But speaking of his alpha shots, they still hit like a truck. They do like 90 or like 80 or 95 damage. It's like 85 or 90 damage at level 9. When you do land your shots. His grenades are still very strong. His grenade shot combo is still very strong as well. That can still do like 100 and 50 damage or something, which is a very good quick burst. The one thing that I would buff about this character would be his gamma. His gamma is kind of trash. When all the hits connect, it's amazing. It does like 200 damage. It hard knocks down so you can keep track of them and where they're going. But the issue is that it doesn't really connect most of the time. You only use it for a short burst or a mobility option. But again, that's not too bad, I guess. But I guess having one bad ability in a kit of an amazing, like, consistent damage of his beta and alpha isn't too bad. His alpha also got shadow nerfed. I think they made his projectiles thinner, which is really weird that they decided to do that. They're making the character that requires aim to require even more aim. I honestly don't think that was the problem with Bakugo. I think it was just like his piercing and all of that. That was an issue. But now Bakugo is a respectable high tier that can just solo carry as well. I think Bakugo can still solo carry given the right player. Just the combos, the damage, like repositioning and all of that, he can quickly fry someone and get them out of the match with relative ease. Next, in A tier, I have got... Oh my god, I completely forgot about a character. Sorry, I'm going back to B tier real quick. B tier, I have Momo. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about Momo. So Momo is another character as well that's kind of just been nerfed over time. That she's a good character overall. I just don't think this is her meta with the damage and combos and all the stuff that counters her. Because practically every character that's been added kind of hard counters Momo. I think Twice just runs circles around her and can just beam her down with his clones and all the special action clones to destroy her cannons. He can stay above her, so there's no threat there. All for One can force her out of the shield by just simply pressing Gamma or even pulling her in. And he can also beta through her things, like her shield if she decides to hide behind it for heals. Mirio can go through her shield with all of his permeation and stuff and just ignore her damage. And Strike Dabi is Strike Dabi. I'm pretty sure his alphas actually go through the shield and just damage her as well, while also playing long range against her and damaging her and destroying the cannons in the process. So yeah, Momo has not had it easy with all of these additions. I honestly think it wouldn't be too bad to give her full invincibility on her shield again. It'll let her stall out for team heals, it'll let her stay longer in the fight, and it'll improve her close range game, which I think is pretty good as well. Because that got nerfed recently. I still think it's pretty strong, because the alpha stuns people. It can stun lock them for a lot of combo opportunities, or even for shit scenarios for them, or even let your team figure out what's going on and then start beaming them down with you. It's really good because after 3 shots, it hard knocks them down, so then you get time to get distance on them, or you can even try and catch them with the shield. The shield is by far her most useless ability, purely based on the fact that it's just too easy to avoid now. I remember when the game first came out, everyone was like, "Rah! Momo's shield is so fucking strong. Oh, I hate this character. Nerf her now. She's so stupid." Like, I don't think it was that bad, if I'm going to be honest. If you learn how to roll towards it, then you was fine. You was fine. It was very easy to avoid. And the last but not least, her best abilities, the cannons. These things still hit like a truck. Despite the damage and range nerf I think they got, she can still third party. She is a third party queen if she's able to line up the cannons correctly in the middle of the chaos, and she can quickly delete someone's shield and put them in a really bad scenario, make them panic and try and escape, and then she can just whack them with the alphas to keep them in place and knock them hard down. I've got Momo in B tier just purely based on that her special action can provide a lot for her team. She can provide cover for her team with her barriers. She's really good at backing them up with cannons, and she can fend for herself against some characters in close quarters with her alpha. Again, the issue is that I think all of these additions are just kind of a bit overwhelming for her. I'd say bring back full invincibility on her shield, even though it technically never existed. Apparently it just didn't show the damage numbers, but I don't think full invincibility would actually be that bad for Momo to give her the ability to stay in fights longer and stall out team heals. I also think her special action is really good now, that it can give you a team enhancement kit so everyone can get set up nice and early. She can definitely set up a team very early on in a match, providing them with big pot heals, big bags. Obviously, I've said team enhancement kit. She's like a baby Kota if she gets it. Again, that did get nerfed. They didn't decrease the chance in it. Momo is also really good at bringing her teammates back if they've died, because if one teammate is dead and you're not carrying a revive card, the next bag that Momo gets, she will 100% guarantee get a revive card, which can bring her teammate back in the fight. So all she's got to do is hide in a safe spot, use her special action, and bring them back. So yeah, that's why I've put Momo in B tier. Alright, sorry about the little detour in going back to B tier, but we're continuing our A tier reign now, and next I am going to put Mirio Togata, the latest new character, not skill set. He's the newest character right now, and I think he's made quite a strong impression. This character has got really good mobility, he's got really good team play as well, and he's also got one of the best special actions in the game when it works. That's the issue again, this character is a little bit bugged in some scenarios. His alpha is a very good mobility tool. My god, is this character a pain in the ass to catch with any character. He might be on par with like the best mobility in the game, which is why he's a rapid. But you've got an alpha that leaves you invincible when you're charging at people. You can go through walls as well to lose them. You can even go high up in the sky with it, so you can stall yourself for hills and all of that. It does insane damage as well. He's got combos out his arsehole with them. He can do like a fully charged alpha into... Oh no, sorry. He can do a beta into alpha, then like drop them down and like hit them with a melee and then like do the barrier after or something. Like he's got really good combo game. His beta lets him escape fights pretty easily. Sometimes it does bug and he can take damage underground, which is kind of stupid. Like they do need to look into this character and fix some of his invincible bugs, because sometimes he can still take damage when he's underground and like when he's charging with his alpha and all of that. He's a little bit whack there, but beta, most of the time when it does work, he's allowed to escape fights. He can immediately travel up buildings as well, and it does huge damage and it gives you very little time to react to as well. It's a very good move. I think it is second best ability just because of how versatile it is. It sets up for his combos. It can also let your teammates combo off of it as well, because the hit stun on it is insane when you get hit by it. And it's really fast. It's really fast. I can barely react to it sometimes. And his last ability is Gamma. It's alright. It's okay. It's very good for like disrupting other abilities like Kirishima hardening or like any other armored abilities. It just flat out beats them. No one can like charge at the shield as well and do damage. Like if All Might went to do his Gamma or Beta into the shield, he would just stop dead in his tracks. You can run into the bubble though and just beat the shit out of Mirio. But by the time he's done that, he's probably going to react. If he sees you just running towards him, he's probably going to react, go underground again, and run away. Or kill you. Because he can do that. The shield can also be used to protect your teammates when they're opening boxes, or like if they're down, you know, you can hold it for a good while. The main issue with it is that once you used it, that's it. Even if you use 50% of it, 10% of it, 1% of it, you're losing the whole thing. You got to wait for the cooldown. His special action is amazing. He's got two uses of it. I think people forget the second use a lot, but the first one is obviously you press it, you're invincible, and you can't be hit. You can run through walls. You can do whatever else you want with it. And the second use of his... Sorry, I had to cut off there for something. The second use of his special action is that if you zoom into your ally, I think it's if you aim at them and press triangle, wherever you are, you can just fly over to them. You go through walls, you avoid all damage. It's incredibly strong. It's definitely a get out of jail free card in both uses. But that's why I have Mirio in A tier. The main thing that stops me from putting him higher is his bugs, and I think this character is garbage in a 1v3 scenario. I think he is terrible. He is so bad in a 1v3 scenario. The best he does in late game is just stall it out until final circle, but again, there's no point in him doing that, purely based on the fact that he just kind of dies because he only has 250 HP, so he can't even really win the heal off, especially if the other team has got something like an All for One or a Cementos. You know, like, it's very difficult for him. Up next in A tier, I might be overrating this character a little bit, but I think you lot are sleeping on him, is my main Mr. Compress. So, Mr. Compress, yes, he is a character that is heavily reliant on level ups, but I don't think it's that bad when he gets his trucks at level 7. On top of that, he can still stun lock you with his alphas at any level. So even late game, if you get hit by a marble, you can say goodbye to your shields at early game. It doesn't matter. This character just beams you. He beams you with his alpha, and the best bit about it is that his teammates can join in as well. So his alphas are obviously the strongest bit about him. Compress is also a character that's just been buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed as time's gone on. They've buffed the beta hit points, they buffed his teleport, they made it quicker, they gave him a second teleport now, and now it has armor. They buffed his alpha so that wherever you throw them, it goes there now, because before, if you looked straight up and threw a marble, the truck would actually end up behind Compress instead of just going up and coming back down. So I think that's why he has become a lot stronger. It's made his airstrikes, is what I like to call them, where you just teleport in the sky and rain trucks down, so much easier to burst someone down. He also has melee combos up close. You can do melee 1, melee 1, melee 1, melee 1, and throw a couple trucks after, which is kind of guaranteed damage, unless if they react with a roll. But again, you can, like, the trucks are huge, so you most likely hit them with it. But Compress, the main power is obviously his special action as well. Well, the main power is stun locking with alphas, but, you know, he's got his special action that's been buffed so that he can revive allies. He can pick them up, take them to a safe spot, and put them back down. And the best bit about his one is that it has no cooldown. As soon as you put one down, you can go to the other teammate that's down, pick them up, and do the exact same thing. And that has become much easier with his second teleport. His teleport is actually pretty good now. It does good damage if you get too close to him. It has armor, and it's relatively hard to track him because of the smoke cloud. Even if you do track him, if he has that second teleport, he can just change his direction and make it even harder to track him. This character has become a master of tricks. He's actually living up to the magician aesthetic now. I think Compress is heavily slept on, and I think you lot should check him out or try him out more often, because this character might become too strong before it's too late. The only thing I would change is his beta. I just think his beta is kind of garbage at the minute. Like, you can reflect projectiles, but obviously most people know that when it's up, so they'll just use their other ability that's really hard to react to. And the thing is with his beta is that you can't really roll out of it. You have to put it down before you can act out of it again. You can't, like, parry an attack and then roll out of it. You have to put the barrier back down. So if they make it that you can roll out of it, or, you know, as soon as you parry an attack, you can roll or start throwing stuff back at them, maybe that will make it a bit more viable. But as of right now, you still just level up alpha, then gamma, and leave. You can even leave beta at level 1. It can reflect enough projectiles at level 1. But yeah, that's why I think Compress is a pretty strong high tier at the minute. Next up in high tier is Mount Lady. Mount Lady is a character that was the best in the game one season. I think it was season 3 or 4, but ever since they cut her stomps in half and kept on nerfing and nerfing and nerfing her, she's become weaker but still very strong. She's a character that has good mobility with her kicks. She's got 2 of them. She used to have 1 before. So they're pretty hard. She can also use them on the ground and, like, cancel them with a jump, which gives her a lot more ground and mobility and close the distance way easier. Her stomps are still just as effective. I think the main issue with Mount Lady is how much damage her alpha does. So the way her alpha works is 1 shot is 2 punches. So, like, 1 bullet, say you have, I think it's like 6 bullets at level 1, or something like that. You technically have 12 shots, because Mount Lady goes 1-2, and that counts as 1 bullet. And at level 9, both of those do 60. Each punch does 60. So she's doing 120 per shot, and she has a shit ton of them at level 9. I can't remember how many bullets she has. I think it's 8, which is technically 16 shots, which is a lot. That is a lot, man. And if you stun someone with the beta, yeah, there's the chance now that you knock them over with if you hit them with too many betas into alphas. But you can chase them with the gamma and just repeat it again. Like, she is a damage machine. And late game, with her special action, it's borderline a free win in some scenarios. If it's in open space, she kind of just wins. The stomp will cover the entire area. She can jump up in the sky just to recharge her betas immediately. The kick covers a lot. It has a massive radius. She takes less damage. She's really hard to knock down out of it. She's just an overall solid character, and I would recommend learning the game through her over Deku, because you have more mobility, you have a stun that allows you to combo so you can learn combos, you have a really strong alpha. Yeah, you're limited on range and whatever, but That's not too bad. You also have 300 HP, I think, with the assault passive, which means you take less damage. So she is a pretty good all-rounder character to start off learning the game with, especially with her special action. She's crazy, man. She's crazy. I don't think she's like S tier material anymore, because I think when she gets jumped, it is kind of hard for her to fight off all the people. She can get lucky and land the stomps to knock them down and try and run away, but I think a lot of characters just do more reliable damage compared to her. Because obviously, if they roll the alpha, if you only hit one punch out of the two, then you're doing half the potential damage. I still think she's amazing though, and this character is in a fine spot where she is now. Up next in A tier, I am going to put Tenya Ida. This character's crazy. This character is absolutely crazy. This might just be my console bias talking. He might be way easier to hit on PC. But that Gamma, when you're jumping off buildings and just flying in the sky and just basically teleporting behind people, he is impossible to hit. And with the Gamma buff, where at level 9, I think it has like a minute long on the Gamma, that's stupid. That's ridiculous. He can just keep running circles around you and burn you off all of your heals and that. And the cooldown for it when you burn out is like not even that long at level 9. Obviously at lower levels it's longer. That's the whole point of leveling it up. His combos aren't too hard to learn. His alpha, you know, that's like 180 damage. You've got your alpha, beta for those who are a bit more experienced with Ida. But that also does like 200 damage. It's basically a guard break. He can just keep running circles around his opponents. Some characters can borderline do nothing against him on it. His special action as well lets him pick up downed allies and take them to a safe spot, which he can do with relative ease. He can also run up walls with them. So again, he can take them to a high building where it's safer. He can also run up buildings himself when he wants to run away. He can fly across the map as well, because Ida in his Gamma, if you're in Gamma, you can alpha, cancel it with the flip, cancel that again with a beta, cancel that with a flip, double alpha into the sky again, and then beta again in the sky, and then finish it off with a flip. And you are gone. You are gone. I think the health nerf that he got from 300 to 250 was completely necessary with how hard he is to kill. This guy is a mobility machine, a mobility damage machine. He is crazy, and I love him. I've been playing him more recently just to get a feel for him on where I would put him on this tier list, and I think he's borderline impossible to kill in some scenarios. The only time I would say he's bad is in a 1v3, or if you're against characters like, surprisingly enough, Technical Dabi, who can put traps to cover themselves and force you to drop your combos, or characters like All For One, who can just push you away, or All Might, who can also run away as well and like block off your combos with tornadoes. Like invincible moves, armored moves do kind of suck for Ida when he's getting the opening, but besides that, he is really good in most scenarios, and I love him for it. I think, again, Ida is another character you should try out if you haven't that much, but yeah, give Ida a try. So up next in A tier is Endeavor. Endeavor is this menace on console. Since console aim assist is basically aimbot, Endeavor's alpha doesn't really miss with all of his ticks. So early game and late game and mid game, if Endeavor just has his sights on you, you kind of just die because you can't really roll the beam because it tracks onto you. And Endeavor is pretty good at his solo target damage. And the issue with that is obviously you kind of just got to fight him and hope you win. You just got to hope that you're the better player or you have the mobility to run away, because Endeavor doesn't really have that great mobility. The best you can do against an Endeavor is probably call out for your team to help you, because Endeavor does kind of stink in a 1v3 scenario, or even a 1v2, because he is so good at his single target damage in his alpha. Because I think at level 9 that does like 200 plus damage, and that's basically guaranteed on console. I think the character is stupid on console. They've either got to change the aim assist to make it weaker like it was in Season 3, or find a balance between this aim assist and the Season 3 one, or they've got to reduce Endeavor's alpha damage. I don't care, man. That shit does way too much damage. His beta as well, that's also a solid move. It covers a lot of space. At level 9, he gets 3 of them, and they linger for ages. And if someone runs into the beta after you've thrown it, you can actually combo that into your alpha for huge damage, huge damage. I think where Endeavor lacks is what I've said before, which is his ability to 2v1 because he's really good at single target damage. Maybe he could throw a spear at the other person to hard knock them down or break their guard and scare them off. Also, his Gamma is shit. It's shit. I don't see a reason to ever level up Gamma. If you have another strike on your team, you just give your Gamma cards to them. Just give it to them. It's probably better than yours. Endeavor's one, I think they shadow buffed it that it has armor on startup now. I don't know. Maybe it's always had that. But again, I'm not really using it unless if like someone's hiding in a building and like they're low HP and I can potentially catch them with it. Its special action, only the hover got a buff on that. So again, like you're losing 50% per jump that you're doing, and flying with it does deplete it very quickly. So he's not got the best chase game. And he's quite a large target for having 300 HP. So he's quite the vulnerable character when you do catch him off guard. He can't really run away. He's kind of forced in that 1v1 view. He is the glass cannon of this game, which is really surprising to me that Endeavor of all characters was the glass cannon. And wrapping up A tier, we have our latest addition yet, which is Strike Dabi. So Strike Dabi is a menace. I don't know how to put it, but Strike Dabi to me is this character that is kind of stupid. He's kind of stupid. Dabi is very stupid at the minute, the Strike one. So the downside to him is that he damages himself. The only problem is that only one move causes that damage. And when he's damaging himself, he gets a damage, range, and speed increase. So there's not really a downside to using it. His alpha has 3 stages of charge as well. So you can just tap it for 1 pillar. You can hold it slightly for 3 pillars. Or you can hold it max for 5 pillars, but it does consume 2 bullets. But all of them have good range, and they surprisingly have good vertical reach. So even if they try and jump over it, it's most likely going to hit them. All of them do good damage as well. They all do the same damage, but obviously it's a wider area the longer you charge it. So his Gamma, this is the real meat and bones of this character. You pop the Gamma, you lose 30 HP. It's on a meter-based thing, so you start at 100%. As soon as you pop it, it starts going down pretty fast at lower levels. The thing is, Dabi gets an insane speed increase, and his alphas always shoot the 5 pillars. His beta gets so much more range and tracking. I think it needs to be fixed. I don't think it needs to be nerfed. I think it needs to be fixed, because sometimes it will just randomly lock onto someone that you're not going for. Sometimes it will perfectly align. Sometimes you'll hit them, but only kick them with the grab and then not grab them. And then speaking of the grab, that shit does so much damage. He is a rapid killer. If Dabi catches a rapid off guard, they will die. They will die. Gamma plus that beta, you can combo, I think it's like you can do the alpha, and then the Gamma will explode, which launches them in the air. And you can combo that into the beta, which does a free guard break, basically, plus a decent amount of their health. But even the beta by itself with the Gamma, if you time it with the explosion, you do 200 plus damage regardless anyway. This character is crazy on his damage. And after that, even if you wait out the Gamma, he does a massive AoE explosion when it depletes. And that shit does like 200 damage as well. I don't know what they were thinking. And it blocks all projectiles being shot at him. And when he grabs your teammate with the beta, he takes less damage as well. So he's not really, taking this damage that he's doing. I think he loses 2 HP a second. I would personally nerf it to 3 HP a second. Or I would make it that, all of his moves that are setting him on fire do damage to him. I thought that was the whole point of this skill set. Maybe it was a translation error, but it's whatever. Strike Dabi as well. His special action I have found way more effective because you get people so low, and even if you trade with like an explosion or a grab, they get put in so much hit stun that you basically get enough time to get up, pop your Gamma, and run away. Because this character has got good mobility with the Gamma into beta. That is really good mobility as well. He can easily escape fights. And he's just insane, man. The only reason why I haven't got him in S tier is because it is still early days of this character. I could be wrong. This character could be the best in the game, but I don't want to cool the gun too quickly. I mostly want the beta tracking fixed and him to take a bit more damage when he's in Gamma. Just because I feel like it's too risk-free, especially if you have a heal card on you. It basically negates all of the damage that you've taken during it. which I guess is kind of a smart play, but like still, I think that is a little bit too strong considering it gives him a damage, speed, and maxes out his alphas basically for you. It's kind of crazy. I think it also increases the fire rate of them as well. So yeah, have fun dealing with Strike Dabi, everybody. It's crazy. It's so crazy. All right, and now we're finally moving into the final tier, S tier. These are characters that I think can solo lobbies given the right scenarios. And the first one who I was very reluctant to put in is All For One. All For One is the most team-based character in this game. I think he is the only character that's been added with 3v3 in mind. He's got a gamma that allows you to pull people in that your team can combo with as it stuns them for a little bit before they can act. He's got a beta which also stuns people that your teammates can combo off of as well. And he's got an alpha that hits pretty fucking hard for level 1. I think it does like 70 damage at level 1. It has an insane fire rate. It does a lot of damage, it pierces, it's got good range. He can also charge it for one strong attack, which does like 180 at level 1, and has a relatively short cooldown. All For One as well, with his gamma, I always recommend leveling that up first, just because it's such a good disruptor in fights. It is an amazing disruptor in fights. If you are in a chaotic scenario, or even if you're third partying, if you just come in holding that gamma, everyone's going to scatter. Everyone's going to start running or panicking, or whoever's in a fight is going to get pulled in because they're too busy stuck in their animation. And that counters a lot of characters. Momo running in her shield, she's got to force herself to get out of it in time and roll, otherwise All For One pulls it in. Toga running around with her beta, she has to stop it. Any character that's airborne, they're fucked. They will get pulled in. And his damage himself, when he does pull them in, is pretty good. Even if you don't have a team, you can hit them with the beta and stun them and then beam them with alphas yourself, which is good enough in itself. But the real meat and bones is a special action. You can reset your cooldowns. And if you take someone's quirk like Sue, Ida, or Aizawa even, you're dealing with a 400 HP Sue. You're not going to catch that. And even if you do, you've got to get through with max shields, 650 HP. That character's crazy. This is what's put me in S tier, is his ability to cycle cooldowns. You can gamma, beta, beam someone with alphas, and then switch to a quirk, switch immediately back to yours, and all the cooldowns are back. So you can gamma again, pull them back in, beta again, beam them with alphas. Like, he's crazy. So the only thing I would say that's bad about All For One is his ability to deal with multiple characters at once that are focusing him. Even if he pulls in one person, if he decides to beta, he's committed to it. Even if he misses and decides to beta, he's still committed to it. That shit has a lot of end lag, and that is more than enough time for the team to focus him. And that's where I think All For One is pretty balanced. I wouldn't buff or nerf this character. I think he is the perfect S tier. Yeah, he's got his cheese. Yeah, he's got his ability to like 1v1 pretty well. Yeah, he can be a 400 HP eater. But overall, I think his commitment to like his combos can definitely get him killed in a lot of scenarios. The main thing I would change if I was to nerf him, it would be the amount of damage you can take after you get pulled in. I would make it 300 damage at max, so you can kill the majority of characters if they haven't got shield, but if they have full shield, then they basically fall over after they've lost 50 of their HP. It just gives people a chance to react to All For One or what's happening when you do get pulled in, and like after you get knocked down, there's a chance to escape, because let's face it, it's not really fun making one mistake, getting pulled in by All For One, and then just losing the match because of it. Like, it doesn't feel fair, and it doesn't feel fun either. Probably for both parties, because the All For One most likely let his team do the beaming for him. But yeah, the All For One starting off in S tier. So, up next in S tier, I have Cementos. Cementos, without a doubt, is the best support that has been overlooked for so damn long. He's another character that has been buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed to get to the stage where he's at. They originally buffed, I think it was his early games, they buffed the reload speed at earlier levels for his alpha, which isn't too bad, because like the pillars don't really go that high at all. Like his beta still does good damage at level 1. He can still combo at level 1 as well with his Gamma into Alpha, which is basically a free guard break, because I think his pillars do like 90 damage if he hits them with the projectile and then when the pillar rises up as well. So Cementos is pretty hard to deal with in general. Then they buffed his HP to 350, so he's even harder to kill when you get in on him. Then they buffed the ammo count on his Alpha for some reason, so he has 7 at level 9. Oh my god, dude. And then I think they buffed the reload speed again or something. Something along the lines of that. But this character's so stupid, man. I hate him. I hate him so much, but I love playing him at the same time. I think next season I'm going to go in playing Cementos just to show how broken this character is. The only thing I would say that is like his major weakness is characters that can kind of close the distance on him really quick before he can even build at like his tower. But if he builds his tower, the player is most likely fucked. Because even if you catch him off guard, he can stall out a fight for ages. He can keep building walls, he can keep walling you off, he can keep building towers, which will allow him to stall out any team heals or even backup for him. He's also got an insta-revive that he can do on top of his towers if he's within range, and it builds a protective wall around them for a while, which he can also seal shut with a Gamma on top. So like, he's a really good support. His beta does so much damage as well that like level 9 you get 3 of them. It's basically on like no cooldown and it does 190 damage. It provides an amazing high wall for his team to hide behind for protection as well. His pillars are really hard to break, his Gamma's really hard to break, and then the combos do like 200 plus damage. Like his Gamma into Alpha combo does 200 plus damage at level 9. This character can stay airborne forever as well. He's so hard to kill, especially with the reload buffs. The nerfs I would give Cementos, I would either make his pillars have less health or I would increase his reload speed. Because this character can just keep building and building and building, and there is nothing you can do about it. Because like characters like Todoroki, Shigaraki, Strike, Dabi, Technical, Kirishima, Kendo, even Denki, that like can somewhat climb up to Cementos, just can't do much about him. They basically lose in that scenario. Because if Momo puts a cannon down to destroy it, Cementos has only got to slap a Gamma onto her cannon and it'll just bury it or it'll destroy it. Cementos is crazy and that's why he's in S tier. They really need to have a look into this character. So up next, I have All Might in my top 5, ranking at 5th place. All Might did get nerfed recently. I don't really think it did anything. Yeah, he lost 50 HP, but he's basically a rapid, so I don't really mind it that much. And they nerfed the damage on his beta at level 7 and 9 instead of the earlier levels where I think it's doing way too much damage early game. But All Might is the all-arounder that's overtuned. He's not the starter character you can pick because you need to complete that battle pass for it, which is why I recommend Mount Lady over Deku. But All Might is definitely that all-arounder where you just want to cheat a little bit, you know. You've got an alpha that has splash damage, which... oh my god, man. Like, they gotta decrease the radius on that. That is insane. The radius on that, and it only does like 30-something damage. But that is still 70 per, like, 2 shots. All Might has had nerfs all around. I think they decreased his bullet count. Then they've nerfed his health now. His beta, his special action has a longer cooldown by 1 second. The horror. But everything else about him, it's just not enough to keep him down. His alpha is insane for damage. 2 shots do like 160 something damage. His beta at level 1 does like 139 or something, or 140. And it's a really good mobility option. It has armor, so you can't really interrupt him when he's using it. He's got 2 of them. He can fly in the sky with them. He can hit people through the wall with the tornado as well. He can hit people above him with the tornado. It's not that hard to hit as well. And he's also got the tornado, which allows him to stall out for team heals and all of that, because he's completely invincible in it with very few things beating it. But again, he's most likely using it to run away instead of engaging in a fight with it. He's just ridiculous, man. This character's so good. And his special action lets him fly in the sky even higher, which he can use with his beta, his 2 betas, and his Gamma, so he's just constantly flying around the map. And by the time he's used his Gamma, he's probably got his special action back, which then allows him to use his betas again. By the time he's used his betas, you know, he's got this infinite cycle, really, of his cooldowns, which allows him to run away forever. And that's why I think he's so strong. And his special action double serves as an insta-revive to his team, which... Oh man, they just gave this character everything, but that's why I think he's so strong, because he's just got everything. He's got the damage of a strike, he's got the passive of the assault, so he takes less damage, he's got the mobility of a rapid, his cooldowns aren't that long, so he feels like a technical, and he provides good support to his team with splash damage, and his beta just disrupt him fights. He can use his tornado as well if he wants to like save a teammate and just like get a person off of them. I wouldn't recommend using it for that though. But yeah, all my top 5 character. Coming in at number 4 is Strike Deku. I'm so sorry for calling this character mid. I feel like I've done this. Oh, all the times I slandered this character for being bad or mediocre. This is all my fault. It's all caught up to me. But this character now is just Assault Deku, but better. He kind of reminds me of Season 1 character damage because his alphas do so much damage. If you land all the shots while zoomed in, yeah, you're gonna deal a lot of damage. I think at level 9 it does 120, so you're doing 240 damage. 240 damage? That's almost someone's entire guard gone in 2 shots. And that hard knocks them down, which gives them enough time to run over, use his beta, which has a huge blast radius now, and that also does like 100 something damage at level 1, and it has true damage to it as well if he lands directly on top of them, which ignores shields. So when I say true damage, it means it ignores shields, like grabs and all of that. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. So they buffed his beta, they made it so that the radius, the max radius spawns in even quicker now. They've also made his gamma quicker, so they've made his gamma quicker. So originally he like put it down, then like 1 second later he would go out. Now it's like gamma down, fly. He also goes further with it, he also goes higher with it. He's so good at the minute, he does everything. And to top it off, they buffed his HP to 350. So not only is he killing you in like 3 to 4 shots with his alpha, he's hard to kill himself. And it's made his special action better than Assault Deku's because he has the extra 50 HP to work with. And I'm pretty sure they made it with his special action that you take less damage as well. So Strike Deku technically has a better special action than Assault Deku because of that 50 extra HP. It may not sound like much, but by the time, you know, you calculate all the damage you've resisted and that, it probably does add up over time. This character's crazy. I would only nerf the damage on his alpha. That's it. I don't think any character should be doing plus 100 per shot by themselves. With other strikes, yeah, it makes sense. And don't even get me started if he has 2 other strikes on his team. He's doing damage out the wazoo on that point. He's stupid, man. He's stupid, but I feel like I've brought this on myself for calling him mid for so long and comparing him to Assault Deku, so I'm very sorry if you hate Strike Deku. It's probably my fault. Anyway, top 3 now. All villains, conveniently enough. We've got Twice. Twice is probably the most hated character in this game, for good reason, because you've got a character that took a relative amount of skill, I guess, when he first came out. You know, you had to manage clones, you had to decide what clone you wanted in that. And in Season 4, they basically reworked him. So they made his gamma track and combo into his air melee, because they nerfed the damage on that as well. They also changed his clones, his special action clones, to do all abilities now. So they can do alpha, beta, and gamma. No special action, though. And they nerfed his beta clones so that they last less and do less damage as well. Which is fine, because all clones have aimbot at random. So why do people hate Twice so much? It's the gamma. He gets 4 charges of those. 4 of them at level 9. And this thing tracks. It tracks so hard. And it stuns you as well, so you can get interrupted with whatever you're doing, and then Twice just comes over towards you, does his gamma damage, then kicks you, which does like 120. It's very frustrating, because it knocks you down after as well. When you're knocked down, Twice will most likely spawn a clone. That clone will then start to heat seek on you like there's no fucking tomorrow, and it will just... it just holds on to you. The clone just does not let go of you. It will just keep beaming you. If you're above a clone, you die. It will just not miss. And that is the same for his special action clones. So it makes like Aizawa clones a top tier threat that you need to get rid of, because they will land their alpha on you no matter what. Same with like Todoroki. He will most likely land his gamma on you. Endeavor, he will not miss an alpha on you. All Might, he won't miss a beta. Like, All for One, he won't miss a charge shot on you. You need to get rid of these clones. The issue with it is that if Twice gets a clone army pretty early on in the game, he kind of just snowballs the rest of the lobby. Unless if you are coordinated enough, or you're playing someone like Technical Dabi or Strike Shiggy, where you can just burn the clones down immediately. Also his alpha. Can we talk about his alpha? That shit's doing like 36 per knife at level 9. And he has 10 bullets. He gets 30 knives at level 9. He needs less damage on his alpha. This character does not feel like a rapid at all. So, the changes I would recommend for Twice is that I would... Alright, hear me out on this one quickly. I would give him more gammas, but I would get rid of the tracking completely. I would change it to like 6. 6 gammas at level 9. So there he's got more mobility to his name. I would keep the clones how they are because they're clones or whatever, and I would decrease the amount of knives that he has at level 9. I think I'd change it to 8. And yeah, that's about it for Twice. Like, oh, I would also make the special action a little bit longer on the execution. It's pretty hard to interrupt because he kind of like zips all over the place, and you get like 3 seconds to deal with it before, you know, you're fucked. So Twice, yeah, he's the snowball machine that everyone hates because of how easy he is and how little effort he takes to do his damage, and he does a lot of damage in the process. Also, the spawn damage on clones just does a lot as well. Like, I could just go on forever about this character and everything wrong about him. But we'll move on to who I think is the second best character in the game, Assault Shigaraki. Assault Shigaraki is still the menace he once was when he dropped. The only thing they've changed about him since then is the damage on his alpha, which realistically didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. They didn't touch the reload, they didn't touch the bullets, they didn't touch the radius that it covers. Like, his alpha is impossible to roll. It feels so difficult to roll because it goes out in this cone shape, but the higher levels, obviously, the more it covers, the more damage it does, and that can become really frustrating to try and avoid. The reload is non-existent on it. It's non-existent. If you have a reload card, you might as well not even worry about reloading with him. On top of that, he's got a beta that if you directly land it, it stuns on your opponent for a couple seconds, so you can just start chucking alphas at them, which can result in a character dying pretty quickly. He can also use it on downed opponents, so then the timer doesn't go down for them because it constantly ticks with 45 damage. It lasts for quite a while. It's a pretty big projectile, so it's not the hardest to hit as well. He also has his Gamma, which is a decent mobility option at best, but it also hits through walls if you hold onto it when he slams on the ground. But the main use for it is to catch opponents in the air to stun them, and do the same to grounded opponents as well. If you hit someone on the ground with it, you stun them with the Gamma, you turn around, you throw them with the rock, which stuns them again, then you just keep hucking alphas at them. And even if your team's there, they're most likely dead. I think the stun duration is way too long on abilities like that. I feel like after you stun someone with the Gamma and then throw the beta at them, they should just get knocked down after that. There's no way you should be able to combo a stun into a stun like that quickly. It's ridiculous. It's so strong, and it's even easier on characters without shields, because I think it's a longer stun time on opponents that don't have any shield. When it's on flesh, it's even easier. So Assault Shigaraki, he still has the same special action as Strike Shiggy for some reason. Oh, to top it all off as well, Strike Shigaraki doesn't have decay, you know, the thing that would make you lose health over time, but Assault Shigaraki does. I have no idea why. Assault Shigaraki also has the passive where he takes less damage, so even when you do catch this motherfucker, he's taking less damage than usual, and if he's on a team with another Assault, he's taking even less damage. So this character's really hard to kill as well, especially with his mobility and his combo potential, so you don't want to get involved with him that much. What I would change about Shigaraki is what I said. I would get rid of the stun on the second, like, move after his Gamma. I just think it's way too strong that you can just delete someone's shields with it. Or maybe I would include a damage threshold on it, like I said for All for One's one, because maybe doing Gamma into beta wouldn't be that much damage. But, like, I don't know, man. I would probably decrease the radius of his alpha as well, just because that shit's really hard to roll. I would also increase the reload speed, because he's getting it way too quickly back. And I would keep the bullets the same, because I just remembered he only has 5 the entire way through. But yeah, that's what I would do to Assault Shiggy, and that's why I think he's the second best character in the game. His combo potential by himself and with his team it's just insane. He's a menace to society. And last but not least, the best character in the game is Toga. Who would have fucking guessed? What a surprise! The golden child has been left untouched for the entire time of this game's lifespan. So, Toga. Why do I think Toga's so strong? You have a character that can ignore reloads. She can transform into any character at will and use their special action. So if she turns into a revive character, or someone who has an insta-revive, she can just transform into them and pick up her ally. De-transform out of them with her gamma completely off cooldown, and then take their blood again and save it for if their teammate downs again, and pick them up and rinse and repeat the whole cycle until the other team just completely gives up on their will to fight and then lose to Toga. Toga herself has practically everything. She has everything. She has good range with her knives. They are pretty hard to hit, but there's no drop off on them, and there's no damage drop off either as well. So you could hit someone across the map with it and it would still do the max damage, which can lead to a lot of damage over time if you catch someone off guard. Her beta, it was a pretty significant nerf on the damage, but it's only when she's dashing. So overall, it still does like 160 at level 9 if you land like the 2 knife slashes, then the dash after that. But it is a lot more manageable to deal with now instead of taking 108, and I guess that makes it less effective at finishing someone off. I still think her main issue is the gamma. This thing tracks like hell. It's got no cooldown. It does like 120 damage. It takes blood off of people, which again, I've said, lets you refresh your cooldowns as soon as you transform out of them, so you've got your gamma back. So what would I change about Toga? Because let's face it, she's too strong in her current state still. I would decrease the damage on her gamma, or the tracking. One of the two's got to go. And when you transform into someone, I would make it that she can't use the special action, or it's on half a cooldown. Like, you've got to wait for it, because, let's face it, transforming into her insta-revive and being able to do that and then come out and have all of your cooldowns back is ridiculous. I would also, like, these don't all have to happen at once. I would either cap the levels at her transformation, so like level 7 at the cap. What else would I do to her gamma? I would also make it that when she transforms out, her gamma's on cooldown. Like, there's no reason as to why she has her gamma back. Her beta's fine, it's whatever. Maybe I would decrease the bullet count until level 7 or something, so she only has 1 until level 7 or level 9, so she can actually, you know, distribute her level cards a bit more. Her alpha's fine. Maybe the swing on it is a bit too much, but yeah, Toga's she's just so broken, man. I just wish for her to be toned down a lot compared to the other characters. Same as Twice, I want him to be toned down a lot. But there you have it. There's my tier list. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. I spent ages recording yesterday. All the footage that you've seen was recorded at twitch.tv/trashjunkies, which will be in the description as well. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope this tier list was helpful, and hopefully it'll make you feel better on picking your characters. But yeah, love you all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye 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 bye.